UFC Fight Night, Emmett versus Vallejos just wrapped up, and we just destroyed Josh Emmett in round one. One of the cleanest, most precise demolition jobs I have ever seen in the UFC, and we have a future champion on our hands here, boys. Kevin Vallejos could not have looked any better in his fight. Look, yeah, it's Josh Emmett. It's the rotten, decaying corpse of Josh Emmett. But, whew, boy, did he look like a killer out there. I think the comparisons to Ilia Topuria are only going to keep increasing because that was an absolute destruction job that he just put on Josh Emmett. Let's talk about that fight as well as all the other talking points from UFC Fight Night, Emmett versus Vallejos. Got to try a different type of video today. Instead of just breaking down the X's and O's from every single fight in the card, I've pulled out the 5 biggest talking points from this card. And honestly, it was hard this week. There was a lot of epic moments on this card. This card was insane. Yeah, I've got a few honourable mentions later on too, but hang around for those. Let's get started talking about this crazy fight night. 5 things we learned from UFC Fight Night, Emmett versus Vallejos. Let's punch on with it. The first thing we learned, this card was absolutely badass. This was the real BMF card. I'm so glad we got a card like this coming after last week's absolute schmozzle, shit show, pathetic card, that BMF card. And honestly, these boys and girls should be getting paid double after this performance. This was one of the best UFC fight nights in the Apex I've ever seen in my life. And it had a big fight feel. That every single fight from the start to the finish, I knew this was going to be a sick card. Like I called it in my predictions. This is a hardcore friendly card, but I did not expect it to be this good. Almost every single fight on the entire card was fucking insane. And I'm not like exaggerating here. I think a lot of people will agree. This was consistently one of the best fight nights I've ever seen in my life. I've thrown a few pictures here of just the highlights of the best fights of the night, but all the way up and down the card, man, even the chick fights were pretty good, except for the co-main. It was all right. But yeah, Sam Hughes and Piero Rodriguez got things off with a bit of a bang. Like that was a good back and forth scrappy war. Hector Sosa and Luan Lacerda was a crazy fight. Like I watched that fight and I was like, that's it. That's fight of the night. There's no way any of these fights are going to beat that. But boy, was I wrong, because Stephen Asplund versus Vitor Petrino, another crazy war from Stephen Asplund. Vitor Petrino, his stocks go up as well. Fuck me, did Stephen Asplund take some damage in that fight. You can see on this pic here, his face got busted up. There's a clip going around on Insta of him. Yeah, he's not looking too flash, old Stephen Asplund. I'm sorry to say to him, but I think his modelling career might be over after tonight. But yeah, we'll talk about that one a bit later. Manuel Souza KOs Balaji Oki in a bloody unreal performance as well. Sick fight back and forth. I thought Balaji was starting to take over at one point, but then Manuel Souza just put a hurting on him in round 3 and knocked him out with one of the most insane KOs. Harry Hardwick versus Marwan Rahiki was absolute chaos, and just fists were flying everywhere in that fight. Eventually, Marwan Rahiki breaks Harry Hardwick's jaw, and Hardwick, one of the most manly, least bitch, throw-ins of the towel you've ever seen. I respect that, man. That was a crazy fight. Jose Delgado and Andre Fili was decent too. Definitely not one of the better fights on the card, but it was a pretty good fight. Like if on any other card, that would have been a pretty decent fight. It was close, it was technical, and Jose Delgado gets away with it in a close fight. And then the destruction job by Kevin Vallejos. Let's talk about him now. The second thing that we learned was that Kevin Vallejos is the fucking Terminator. This guy is Ilia Topuria 2.0. We are going to be champion of the featherweight division, and I'm all aboard this hype train now. I already was. How good is Jean Silva, first of all? But man, Kevin Vallejos just put on one of the most dominant main event performances I've ever seen and made it look so easy against Josh Emmett, who people don't really make it look that easy against him. Now, I will say, Yusuf Salal easily submitted him in his last performance. The guy is 41 years old, and he looked every piece of it today, but it was Kevin Vallejos, man. It wasn't that Josh Emmett was washed or shit or bad. Kevin Vallejos just is so clean with his punches, man. He came in so calm and composed for a 21-year-old young fella in his first main event in the UFC with not a lot of experience. This guy just looked so calm, so composed, and so ready, and he just got an unbelievable amount of aura, and you can tell that this guy is going places. He just stood there, looked Josh Emmett up and down, did his thing in the octagon, dodged absolutely everything. It was like he was in the Matrix, and just walked forward, and I'm pretty sure he landed every single strike he threw. Insane precision and crazy power, and Josh Emmett just got lit up and put away within the first couple of minutes. That combo that he finished him with was disgusting. Just like a 1, 2, 3, and the third shot just clipped him on the chin, sat him down, and that was all she wrote. Emmett was in another dimension, on another planet, completely flatlined basically for a split second. He got up, credit to him, and then threw a punch so hard. It was Lucas Tracy will be losing his shit. It was the biggest, meatiest hook you've ever seen in your life. And Emmett nearly threw himself around into a 360, but he was so wobbled and rocked from that clean shot from Kevin Vallejos that, he threw himself onto the ground and Vallejos just pounded him out. And thankfully the ref stopped the fight. And Emmett gets up and he's like, what the fuck happened? What round was it? Did I just get knocked out? Yeah, boy, you just got knocked out by us. We just knocked out Josh Emmett. I'm so excited to see where this guy goes next. Like, a lot of the times they put these young prospects into main events too early, or they throw them up the rankings too early. This was the perfect step up for Kevin Vallejos, and he did not disappoint. One of the best performances from a prospect I've seen in a long, long time. This guy has future champ written all over him, and I can't wait to see what's next for him. It should be a big fight up the rankings. Top 5, top 10. Yeah, this guy, keep your eye on Kevin Vallejos, boys. We have a good one here. The third thing that we learnt that I wanted to talk about was Muktabek Orolbai. Muktabek Orolbai Ulu is a fucking problem, bro, and he's Khabib 2.0. Now, I'm not trying to insult him there because I fucking hate Khabib, but man, what a performance from Muktabek Orolbai. I was a bit nervous picking this fight, man. I was thinking, geez, Chris Curtis could be the guy to, stuff his takedowns and, box him up a little bit and make him earn it, but no, I was completely wrong about this one. Look, I did go with Orolbai, so I'm not completely wrong, but I thought Curtis was going to give him a few more problems, but he gave him zero problems whatsoever, and Orolbai completely ragdolled him and pitched a complete shutout on Chris Curtis, who Chris Curtis was looking so lean, bro. I've never seen him look like any fighter look as lean and vascular and, skinny and just drained down as Chris Curtis did, so I don't think welterweight's for him, but Muktabek Orolbai does look like a genuine welterweight. He's big and he was looking filled out and full in there, and he just completely dominated Chris Curtis from bell to bell. Curtis had about 1 minute of time on the feet in the entire fight, and the rest of it was just Orolbai wrestle fucking him, constantly just moving from position to position, beating his ass, not doing the hugest amount of damage, but like I said, Khabib 2.0, and man, that was a very, very dominant performance from Muktabek Orolbai. He looks at home at welterweight. He'll be getting a top 15 match up next for sure. And I like this guy. He's entertaining and he's obviously well-rounded. Like, he's come out of nowhere. He's from that Caucasus region. He's got the wrestling. He's got the striking. He's got a good chin. He's entertaining. Even though it wasn't like the most crazy blood and guts fight in the world, he's got that entertaining style of grappling where he's always trying to hurt you, always trying to finish you. And yeah, man, this guy is a big problem, and whoever he gets next, I feel sorry for them because he's going to make it very, very hard for them. Let's go to the fourth thing that we learned from UFC Fight Night, Emmett versus Vallejos, and that was Bia Mesquita is a massive problem at bantamweight for the women's division, man. She is a savage. I called this fight perfectly. I said Bia Mesquita is going to shoot a blast double leg, take her down. Montserrat Rendon is going to scramble to her back and try and get up, give her back and get choked out straight away. And I was pretty much bang on, but it was even more brutal than I expected from Bia Mesquita. Even just as brutal as her last performance against the Russian Ronda. And Bia Mesquita is a big problem here. And look, bantamweight is incredibly shallow here in the women's divisions. I can see this chick getting a top 10 opponent next, a top 5 opponent. Just fucking give her the title shot. Who have they got at bantamweight there? Absolutely nobody. What, Raquel Pennington, fucking Juliana Pena, Kayla Harrison, Amanda Nunes. Yeah, let's get this Amanda Nunes versus Kayla Harrison shit out of the way if it does happen, and then chuck Bia Mesquita in there because she's the most exciting thing that's happened to the women's divisions, to WMMA in a long, long time, and she looks like she's ready. She's got all that BJJ experience and accolades. She's the lady GOAT. I reckon she has potential to come in like Kayla Harrison and dominate this division. So, yeah, that was a good lock, that one. The fifth thing that I want to talk about is, dude, Paramount Plus sucks ass. What the fuck are they doing with this shit? Like, honestly, it's gone backwards in terms of the actual broadcasting. There's so many problems, and there've been problems for the last few cards, and I'm really not impressed with the Paramount Plus broadcast service, I'm actually paying for it too, surprisingly, but yeah, it's dog shit, man. It's the audio cut out for like a whole 2 fights at the start of the card. They cut early to go to commercials. They don't show the walkouts properly. They do these random awkward cuts to like when the commentators are in the middle of talking about shit. It just seems amateur, like super amateur. The camera angles are all weird. Their timing's off. these guys are not doing as good of a job as ESPN Plus, and ESPN Plus was never that good anyway. Like, Paramount Plus is pretty washed, bro. They've got work to do to make this an actual decent streaming service, and I was expecting big things. I thought, that with the amount of money they'd paid, they'd also want to make sure their product is good, but it ain't that good, bro. That piece of brown dog shit there is actually a lot better than what they're offering. So pretty disappointed with the Paramount Plus. Annoying that when the bloody audio goes off for half an hour when you're trying to, listen to the fight. I wish that would happen when Joe Rogan was commentating the card, because I'd love to turn that fucking audio off. I normally do it myself anyway. But when you got Fitzy and that, who I actually don't mind listening to, pretty annoying because it was a close fight that it went off in. I think it might have been the, what was the second fight of the card? Whatever it was a close fight. And I couldn't hear what was going on, and it was pretty annoying that. So Paramount Plus, get your shit together. I'm sure MMA Joey's going to have a good rage about that. But yeah, there's the top 5 things that I guess are the takeaways from this card. Definitely the fact that the card was just insane, and then Kevin Vallejos' performance. What else is there to talk about from this card? Well, Oumar Sy basically is Ciryl Gane. He's the second coming of Ciryl Gane, and he just let us all down again. But look, at least, he did it to E1 Cutelaba, who I like and who's an entertaining guy, and I like to see him win. But there's going to be a lot of Oumar Sy and Ciryl Gane comparisons going around here, just because shit performances, tries for a takedown and gets reversed. Cutelaba gets on top of him and he fucking goes for a heel. Oumar Sy goes for the most Ciryl Gane heel hook you've ever seen. They must be teaching those guys over there at those French gyms that when you're down, just go for the heel hook. It works. Trust me, bro. P.S. It does not fucking work at all. Anyway, goes for the heel hook, and I'm just sitting there going, this guy, this fucking Ciryl Gane, motherfucker. I was already going to make this bit, and then Cutelaba literally touches his neck and he taps to a guillotine. Like, it was pretty much quicker than the John Jones Ciryl Gane tap. One of the most bitch taps. Look, it was way more in than the Ciryl Gane one, and I guess I've never been guillotined, so I don't know how much they hurt. I'm sure they do, but yeah, Cutelaba gets a fucking very easy win over Oumar Sy, and that, I'm sure a lot of people are shocked about that. But yeah, the Oumar Sy, Ciryl Gane comparisons, very deserving, and I thought they were worth talking about. The next talking point that was there was Charles Johnson versus Bruno Silva. Was this a robbery, boys? You go down to the comments down there, please, and tell me, do you think this was a robbery? Because I do. I think this was a pretty big robbery, but I'm not upset about it, though, because Bruno Silva cheated his ass off in this fight, and fair enough, he deserved to lose. But yeah, a bit of a weird one, this, because I actually thought that it was 30-27 Bruno Silva. Maybe Charles Johnson could have won the third round. Like, it was pretty close, and he started to kind of find a bit of flow in the last minute or so. But I definitely had it at least 29-28 Bruno Silva winning the first 2 rounds pretty clearly, and then Charles Johnson might have taken the third. And look, I coin flipped this fight. I knew it was going to be hard to pick. I knew it was chaotic. I knew that the index was rising on this one. And I was bang on with that, because it was a very, very close fight, but I thought the wrong guy got his hands raised. And I like Charles Johnson, and I picked him, and I still think that Bruno Silva deserved to win that fight. But like I said, a bunch of fouls. We'll talk about those in a second. But I don't know. You tell me, guys, who do you think won this fight? I can see a lot of people saying that Bruno Silva won it. Yes, every round was close, but I thought in terms of the pressure, the octagon control, the striking, landed shots and damage, I thought Bruno Silva done enough to win that. Let's talk about the fouls, though. Like, kind of flows on nicely from that one. Fouls. What the fuck are we doing, man? Why are fouls still completely legal in the UFC? They don't have a consistent system for punishing fouls or for even enforcing them in any way. And every ref's different. They're all bitches. Like, every ref is too gun shy to actually make it an impactful call on the fight. It's like they're too scared to be involved, but it ends up being controversial, and we talk about it in the other direction. Like, just be consistent and enforce the rules confidently, and everyone will respect you. Like, if you make a bit of a wrong call and be a bit too harsh every now and again, so be it. But I'd rather refs were actually over penalising fouls than not penalising them at all, because at least that would discourage fouls a bit more, right? But no, apparently fouls are completely legal in the UFC. You just have to look at the Charles Johnson versus Bruno Silva fight. Big headbutt from Bruno Silva, 2 pretty bad nut shots. Respect to Charles Johnson. He fucking recovered quick as from both of them. He didn't stall it out. Like, Paramount was probably fuming, thinking, mate, just take your 5 minutes so we can run a few more ads. But nah, Charles Johnson gets up, and look, for that reason, I'm not too upset about the fact that he got the win. But I mean, the outcome of the fight objectively shouldn't really be changed by the fact that there was nut shots. Like, if there was points taken, fair enough. And I kind of agree that points should have been taken. At least 1 point should have been taken from Bruno Silva after the second nut shot. They were all very impactful. And so maybe it should have been a draw, or maybe it should have been 28-27 or something, or 29-27 to Charles Johnson. But nah, man, I still think objectively, with no point taken, Bruno Silva should have won that fight. But there was more fouls too. Like, what was with the fucking back of the head shots in Gillian Robertson versus Amanda Lemos? Dude, most blatant, clear, nasty elbows to the back of the head I've ever seen. Literally, like, Amanda Lemos has got Gillian Robertson in like a headlock, and all you can see is just like the circle, like the stripe, the mohawk at the back of Gillian Robertson's head, and Amanda Lemos is just fully intentionally landing sickening elbows straight to the back of the head. There's no arguing whatsoever, because that was the only part of her head that was visible, and because her hair's bright red, it was like literally a bright red fucking target for Amanda Lemos, and the ref's sitting there watching it going, don't hit the back of the head, don't hit the back of the head, and Lemos just pounded the back of the head with like pretty nasty elbows, like in the style of Curtis Blades versus Shlt and Almeida, and the ref just sits there watching her do it multiple times going, don't hit the back of the head, don't hit the back of the head, while she continues to hit the back of the head. So I don't know what they're doing with fouls in the UFC, boys. They've cooked the chook a bit there, but whatever. So, like Guru always says, if you're a UFC fighter, just foul. Just do fouls. Like, do it until you basically get your final warning, because that's what seems to happen is they let it go for like the first few, like cage grabs and shit. They might maybe mention, they'll let it go. They won't say anything. Then like the third or the fourth time you do it, they'll say, don't grab the cage. Heaps of those tonight too, by the way. And then they'll go, like maybe they'll give like one more stern warning at the end of the round, be like, don't grab the cage again. And then next round, you grab the cage again, the ref might stop it and say, if you grab the cage again, I'm going to take a point. Then you'll let it go another few times. So by the time you've done 10 cage grabs, maybe now the ref is thinking about taking a point, and then he maybe will take a point on the 11th time. But seriously, use up your fucking 10 fouls, dick kicks, go for it. Like, it's a legitimate way to win a fight. Good strategy. If I was a coach, I'd be trying to coach fighters to do at least one good eye poke or one good nut shot intentionally every single fight, because nothing's ever called intentional. Nothing ever is intentional. It's very easy to make shit not look intentional. But yeah, we needed some kind of way to fix the fouls in the UFC. I've got a whole video about this. Maybe I'll chuck it in the description. You guys can watch that one. It's a good vid. But yeah, fouls are cooked, mate. I'm pretty sick of seeing it. You can't do much about it. It's a fight. Like, nasty things happen in a fight, but just enforce it properly. Like, we're never going to stop the fouls, but we can fix the way that we actually officiate them. I think the UFC is just too scared to, interrupt the way that a fight's going. But yeah, it's kind of bullshit, and it was pretty egregious in both of these fights. Anyway, let's move on to the next talking point, which is Vitor Petrino is actually pretty good, and Stephen Asplund is okay, and he's a fucking dog. But Petrino is the real winner of this fight. Even though there was a few moments where I didn't really love the way Petrino was looking, like I don't like that thing he does where he sort of turns his back and then walks halfway around the cage and sort of resets. I think better opponents up the division will probably expose him for that and make him pay for that. But Asplund was too, sloppy and slow to really give it to him. But I think it's time to forgive Vitor Petrino for that Anthony Smith fuck up, boys. He's actually pretty good. Since he's come up to heavyweight, he's looked really, really good. And this was a crazy fight, man. This was a really, really fun fight. And Stephen Asplund, he's a dog, man. He's always in fun fights. He's only had a couple in the UFC, but they've both been absolute bangers. People are calling this one better than the Asplund versus Sean Sharaf fight. I strongly disagree, but it was more even, and there were some big moments in this fight. Stephen Asplund dropped Petrino in round one and nearly had him out of there, but Petrino was able to tighten things up and get a bit more technical and just started piecing up Asplund and busted his face up so bad and kicked the bleeding leg off him. Like, fuck, Asplund pointed to his leg at the end and there was the most filthy big welt and bruise on his leg. So, yeah, Petrino did some good work on him in this fight. Even though Asplund was jiggling around and like mooning and emoting and doing all this funny shit, Petrino clearly won the fight. It was a great, entertaining scrap, though. These guys deserve a performance bonus, I reckon, too. Unfortunately for Asplund, though, I think his days as a male model might be over, which is a shame because his face got turned into a fucking pancake in that fight. Petrino, the jab was just stinging him all night long, and yeah, it was tough to watch because I really like Asplund and would have been good to see him win, but I did pick Petrino. I thought Petrino would have done it through the grappling, and I thought maybe that Asplund would have been better on the feet overall and like have a bit more volume, but I think Petrino just had that power to get his respect early, and he did good work that had Asplund kind of second guessing. And look, I put on here that Asplund is okay. We kind of saw his level tonight. I never thought he was that good. Everyone was calling him bloody Maximum Holloway and whatnot, and he did look good in his last fight, but that was against Sean Sharaf, who I think Tai Tuivasa going to beat. They've just been booked to fight each other, and that's saying something. If I'm confident that Tai Tuivasa beats you, you're not that flash. So the fact that Asplund was able to piece him up, it was entertaining. It was good to see, and he is good, considering who he is and where he's come from. But I don't think he's good. I think he's just okay. Maybe he's just going to be like a just outside the rankings type of guy, but an entertaining fighter, and I enjoy watching him fight. Petrino, though, I think he's not the best either. He's not really going to be a title, threat at heavyweight, but he's good and he's improving, and I think that's important that he's actually getting better, and he's got nasty power and a pretty good technical kind of skill set, and that was what I liked about what Petrino did tonight. He got rocked early. He failed his takedown, and things got a little bit hairy there for a little bit, but he was able to take over the fight just with clean technique, and that was good to see. So good shit, Vitor Petrino. The final thing I want to talk about on this card as a talking point is that we've got some decent prospects coming out of this card, and I like that, and that's why I like the look of this card, because there's some really hardcore friendly matchups, but also some good prospects coming up. Obviously Kevin Vallejos is him. He's the next big thing. So definitely keep your eye on him, and he's the biggest story and the biggest name coming out of this card. But a few ones earlier down the card had some good performances too. Elijah Smith, went through a bit of adversity early in the fight and was able to defend the best shots from Su Young Yu and actually take over the fight in round 2 and land a nasty combination and then get a rear naked choke. I'm a bit pissed off that he choked him, because I literally had a massive multi cooking, and the only leg that I dropped was I had Elijah Smith double chance TKO or points, and he gets it done by submission. I didn't think he was going to submit Su Young Yu, but that's a good feather in his cap to submit a guy called Yu Jitsu. But Elijah Smith looks good, bro. He's got a couple of good performances in the UFC, so keep your eye on him. Both of the Souza guys, Hesha Souza and Manuel Souza, really good performances from them. They both made it very hard for themselves. The Hesha Souza went life or death with Luan Lacerda. One of the best fights on the card. Honestly, if that fight was on last week's card, it would have been head and shoulders fight of the night. It's going to be hard for the boys to pick a fight of the night because there was a lot of really good scraps. Honestly, I'd probably say that it's going to be either Petrino versus Asplund or maybe Hesha Souza versus Luan Lacerda. I'd probably lean to Luan Lacerda and Hesha Souza. Those guys swang and bang. That was a crazy fight. But then you've also got Marwan Rahiki and Harry Hardwick. That was a crazy fight as well. Just big moments in that. But the whole fight of Hesha Souza versus Luan Lacerda was absolute mayhem. It was nuts. If you didn't watch that, man, go back on Paramount Plus or however you watch your fights and watch that fight, because they were swinging for the rafters the entire fight. It was crazy. It was non-stop action, and yeah, it was good to see. Manuel Souza versus Balaji Oki was a pretty deadly fight too. I thought Balaji Oki was going to get chinned hard early, and he did get rocked and sat down in the first couple of minutes, but he came back and he started, taking over the fight. But then late in round 3, like I said would happen, he faded. Manuel Souza took over and landed a nasty straight right, I think it was, or a right hook that knocked Balaji Oki out cold. So a couple of good prospects there. I don't know how young these guys are, but I think Hesha Souza and Manuel Souza both came through the contender, and they look pretty decent. They look like UFC contenders. Definitely both need to work on their defense, but I'd say out of those two, the guy that probably looked a bit better was Manuel Souza. And then I already spoke about Vitor Petrino. He had a good performance as well. And I think, with how shallow heavyweight is, he's definitely going to be one to watch. I think he'll find his ceiling when he gets to some of those better guys like the Alexander Volkovs and the Waldo Cortez Acostas and obviously Tom Aspinall and that. But I do think Vitor Petrino is coming for the top 10 if he's not already in there. Top 7, top 6, somewhere around there, I think he'll find his ceiling, but good to watch. And I suppose you can call Gillian Robertson a bit of a prospect as well. She's been around for a fair while, but she's got a few tools in her tool bag. Not good on the feet whatsoever, but was able to survive Amanda Lemos' power shots and her best shots and those pretty nasty elbows to the back of the head, and just adapt a game plan, crash in, get the takedowns. It was a very Benoit Saint-Denis type performance from Gillian Robertson, like he did against Dan Hooker. Just not really doing that good on the feet and just marauding in with the most obvious low technique takedowns, but just sticking her head in there, getting the legs and taking her down and staying on top. So, yeah, very Benoit Saint-Denis performance from Gillian Robertson, but I picked her to win by decision, and that's what happened. So overall, a pretty amazing card, guys. What did I miss? Well, yeah, we got Vallejos. We locked that in. All three of the locks were great this week, boys, so I'm happy with that. The picks are pretty good too. We went 1-0, 2-0, 2-1, 3-1, 4-1, 5-1 with the coin flip, 6-1, 6-2. I got Tavares wrong. That was a pretty decent performance from Anders, but a good fight that as well. 6-2, 7-2, 8-2, 9-2, 10-2, 11-2, 11-3 because I went with Sam Hughes, but I didn't really think that much into that fight, so I just randomly basically just coin flip that. But there you go, 11-3, very good night of picks, 3 out of 3 locks. Felt very strongly about all 3 of these fights. I nearly chucked a lock on Jose Delgado too, but I think we maybe need to cool our jets a little bit on Jose Delgado. He didn't look the best, to be honest, and if you're struggling that hard with Andre Fili, yes, he did make adjustments as the fight went on, but I thought if he was going to be anything decent, he should have smoked Andre Fili, and he looked a bit more like it the way he looked in his last fight too. So yeah, cooling the jets a little bit on Jose Delgado, but he got it done anyway. So sick card, boys. I'd love to hear your thoughts about it. I thought I'd try a bit of a different style of video this week rather than just going through each fight and regurgitating my notes. Thought I'd just chuck down some main talking points and then just kind of waffle through it a bit more. Hope it was a bit more engaging for you than that I ticked off the main talking points there. Amazing card. We need more cards like this, not in the Apex, but imagine if this was in a crowded arena. It deserved to be. I reckon the UFC should be dishing out a fair few bonuses tonight, and these guys should be getting paid because this was the type of fucking fight night that it reminded me of why I'm a fan of the UFC, and I needed this shit after last week's fucking debacle. So yeah, loved it, boys. Great fight night. I feel good watching that card. Picks are amazing. Got a couple of cheeky little multis. Punch-ons parlay. Oh, look, it was so close. I got all 4 legs correct, but my third leg was look, I had Elijah Smith to win. He did. I had Bia Mesquita to win. She did. I had Kevin Vallejos to win. He did. I had Jose Delgado to win by KO just to try and add a bit of value, and he wins by decision. So we can't claim a win on the punch-ons parlay this week, but very, very, very close. Yeah, disappointed on that one, but it is what it is, boys. Hope you enjoyed the vid this week. Hope you enjoyed the card as much as I did because it was a fucking banger in my mind. Like the video, fellas. Subscribe to Punch-Ons. I'll see you fellas on the next fucking balls up of a video. Punch on.